criminally misunderstood, or a misunderstood criminal. Ladies, gentlemen, and scholars of all ages, I am Candy Crabbane, and welcome to a day in the life of the Arkveld, an extinct species brought back to the modern age through a miracle of parthenogenesis from a creature with no ability to reproduce to begin with, a guardian. The closest living modern relative of the Arvkeld is seemingly the Seregios, a creature native to the dunes near Valhalla. If you try to imagine the Arvkeld without fur, their body shape is incredibly similar. But the true giveaway is the zygodactylus feet, the 2 forward-facing toes and 2 backward-facing toes. Look, it's not weird to observe a monster's feet if it's for research purposes. Well, these 2 monsters share similar body types. The ways that they use their bodies couldn't be much more different, except for the part that both of them do have body parts that can expand and contract at will. Though, so do I. That body part for the Arvkeld is possibly its most distinct feature, the chain-like appendages that extend from its wings. Generally speaking, all flying creatures have their wing shape mimic the structure of a human arm to a certain extent, with a very similar layout of bones to a human's hand, but with different proportions and some additions put on after the fact. With this in mind, it's interesting to note that the chain-like appendages specifically extend from where the wrist would be in this comparison, which is the same place that shackles would be attached to a human in captivity. Not that I would know anything about that. Through this, the Arvkeld can have incredibly precise control over these appendages, making them its most fearsome weapon and its main method of predation, which is to say that the Arvkeld is not an herbivore, a carnivore, or an omnivore. It's just into vor as a hobby, or more of a passion project. For actual sustenance, it absorbs pure energy right out of the body of its prey. And unlike most creatures, Arvkeld does not limit its prey to being 1 or 2 species that happen to be a good match for it in combat. Instead, it will suck the energy out of nearly any creature that it comes across and use this energy to fuel itself and its ability to reproduce. This is shown by Arvkeld being able to show up in any of the biomes within the Forbidden Lands, approaching unknown large monsters, knocking them down with its regular brutish strength, and then to each and every one of them, it'll do the same thing. Wrap its chain-like appendages around them, and then give them the big suck. As well, it's worth noting, with mizutsune recently appearing in the Forbidden Lands, that Arvkeld also sucks from this creature. Our researchers imagine that this is the equivalent of Arvkeld cleaning out his chains, which, it's worth mentioning, is something that he does physically as well to clear out the debris. Through this process of energy consumption, Arvkeld is uniquely positioned within the circle of life. While it still seems to require water within its system, as most living things do, even going to the point of collecting extra droplets within its beard hair to save for later use, Arvkeld does not need to kill in order to survive. Even an herbivore is technically killing plants that it eats, but the Arvkeld is doing the equivalent of stone crab fishing. Earth's stone crab, which is unsurprisingly similar to our world's stone-fist daimyo hermitar, is known for having 1 excessively large claw, as well as potent regenerative powers that allow it to regrow a claw if it loses it. This allows fishermen to harvest the 1 large claw and then release the creature back into the wild, where it can take care of itself with 1 claw until the other regrows and the process repeats. This allows the humans to get more crab to consume, but it does not require the crab to die in the process. Similarly, Arkveld takes energy that the monster can regenerate naturally and then lets the monster leave afterwards without killing it. This is consistent across every instance of this interaction. After Arkveld performs this action against its target, sucking their energy out, the target will then get up and walk away. And Arkveld will almost always allow this to happen, not pursuing, not trying to even properly harm his prey in any way. Except for Ray Dow, who Arkveld will pull out of the sky and then swat like a mosquito. Where does this aggression come from? In a creature that has no innate need for violence to survive, past its need for energy absorption? This is not a known fact, but my personal theory is that the Arkveld is lashing out in frustration and loneliness as a result of endless bullying. While the guild spreads the rumors that Arkveld as a creature is permanently aggressive and purely destructive as part of its genetic code, time spent following and observing the creature in its natural habitats tells a very different narrative. Sometimes small birds will attack the Arkveld, attempting to provoke it into anger, and it will simply ignore them, showing restraint, and perhaps even showing mercy. This pattern repeats with other small monsters, even up to the point of a Rathma making Arkveld pop in and out of existence, but also paralyzing it, removing the ability for the Arkveld to even control its own body for a period of time. The Rathma then starts to run away, fearing some sort of retaliation. However, after recovering from this illness, the Arkveld will simply continue to go about its day, no angry yelling at them, not even a look over its shoulder, or even a casual moo. This bullying is so rampant that even my own camera crew couldn't stop themselves from joining in on it. My personal theory is that these actions from more modern living creatures than itself have built up a sort of resentment deep inside, waiting to burst at the wrong moment, as is shown when it will occasionally stop to smell the flowers, yell at the flowers, for much longer than is normal to do. As well, when coming across any structures that do not aesthetically match the environment, such as my own tent, the Arkveld will instantly remove it, as the visual dissonance would otherwise cause stress to the beast. When asked for comment on this theory, Arkveld simply yelled directly up my butthole and then walked away. So we instead asked an expert for their opinion, who would prefer to remain anonymous.
Yeah, I mean, from everything I can tell, he's just like me, for real, like, he's just upset that the world hates him, and that, like, all of his family is dead, so he's sad, but then people make fun of him, which makes him angry, and he wants to eat them, but he's also got a good heart inside, like, he just wants everyone to be happy, but most of all, he wants to be happy himself, and he doesn't know how to make that happen.
Thank you, Mr. Expert. Your juice box will be waiting in the tent. And there you have it. That's the crux of the matter. The Arkveld is a creature thought to be a menacing evil, a violent brute with an insatiable lust for violence, which all seems to be untrue. At least about the modern Arkveld that we have had a resurgence of after its return from extinction. These beasts are capable of consuming in moderation. They're capable of patience, of mercy, and of drinking water for very long periods of time, and are merely being scorned and avoided by other forms of life out of fear, which leads them to eventually lash out, as anyone would. However, the Arkveld has recently started to branch out and make friends, which could change its behavior long term, or at least until it inevitably pushes these friends out of its life. I'm Candy Crabbane, and this has been a day in the life of the Arvkeld. Like if you want cotton to give me scratches. Subscribe for more, and until next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.